Hey Benson, how are you?
Hey, what's going on, sir? How are you today?
Not much. Just been going through some trainings I've had for to get started in the wholesaling. But could you if no one else has any questions, I watched your reverse REI video
Uh-huh.
on wholesaling on the website. Could you are there any other tricks that you could show me within the platform that I could use when wholesaling?
For exactly which part of wholesaling? Finding deals, running
Yeah,
comps. I mean, the wholesaling is the exact same process as fix and flip. The only difference is what you do with the property after you have it under contract.
sure. So we can start with finding properties and then and go from there.
Okay. Yeah. So like right here, I'm in Nashville. I just ran a search for properties that would be good wholesale deals. And one of the properties that popped up is this one right here on Lakeland. So I just used this filter. Did Nashville active deals that were better than 70% of the ARV. In Nashville, people are going up to like 75, 80% even on fix and flippers are. So if you're a wholesaler in this market, this is, if you found something better than 70%, you could easily wholesale it. So this house right here was one of the matches. And here's the house itself. So you can see that, it looks like it's got good bones, but it's really dated. So lots of places here where someone could add value. And then when you come down here to the comparable section, this is the data that shows that it's a deal, right? So this house you can buy for 250, and we've got several fix and flips in the area, which is the whole point of doing the reverse REI strategy is to set yourself up so you have comparables that you can use to prove after repair value. And if they're flipped, well, it's really easy for you to prove value because all you got to do is show your end buyer the fix and flips that are right down the street. So with this data here, you're getting up down to 65% of ARV, and it's all of the comps that are blue. So the ones that are blue are the comparables that show this thing as a deal, right? And so they're all within. This is a half a mile from the center to the edge. So these are all true comps. Now, one thing I would want to point out while you're here is just strategy-wise, when you're comping properties, you want to try to say, within a half mile in the same area and not cross over major roads, right? So this 40 right here is probably a major road because of, it's a double yellow line, which is, the thicker the road, once you switch over from yellow or from white to yellow, the road's even more. So this is basically an interstate. So this comp down here that's in Larchwood, it's a comp based off of the property characteristics, similar square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, stories, property type, property style. But we crossed over a major road here, so you wouldn't want to use this comp. But we got plenty of comps that are close that says this thing's a deal. So this is absolutely a good deal that you'd want to target. This one you could either get rid of by using a little eye icon right here where there's a cross through it. That actually will remove the comp. Or let's say there was a handful of comps over here you wanted to get rid of. Well, you could use the drawing tool, and then you can just draw your own comp zones. You just click and hold, and then you draw your comp zone where you want it. And that will eliminate any comps outside the zone that are irrelevant. And then it will include the comps that are here. So this comp that was down here in Larchwood now is no longer on the comp set. And anything that would be new, like this one over here, this rental comp, is now showing up here in the rental section that wasn't there before. So when you're comping out properties, whether you're going to fix and flip them or wholesale them or do BRRRR, that's just some kind of like good comping strategy. But the majority of the strategy is built right into the algorithm. Like you don't have to be a seasoned veteran like myself who's been doing this for 18 years to be able to know how to comp. You also don't have to have MLS data because we've got that right here in the system for our target markets. And we'll be adding more and more MLS data. So there's plenty of data here that says this is a good deal. It's at about 62% of the ARV. You could absolutely wholesale this thing. You would just write an offer on it, get it under contract, and then you would go and you market that. Now, and if you're writing in the offer through an agent, you're going to have to, well, no matter how you write it, you need an assignment clause, right? So if you write it through an agent, then your agent, you tell them to add one of two things, either the name of the offeree, the one who's, going to buy the property is, Jang's Wing Enterprises and or assigns, right? So the and or assigns is who you can assign it to, or you just do it in, James Wing Enterprises, and then down in the section, most contracts have what's called an additional provision section where they can put in additional clauses, and you would just put in there, buyer has the right to assign this contract without the permission of the seller at any time. And so that allows you to go ahead and assign it. So there's two assignment clauses you could do. I actually prefer to use an LLC to do a transfer of control. So on an on-market property, if you have an assignment clause in there, it could tip the listing agent off that you're a wholesaler, and that's not a problem, just on its own. But if you come across an agent who had a bad experience with a wholesaler last year, well, maybe they don't want to, work with a wholesaler this time. So, if you put the offer in the name of an LLC that you don't mind selling, so it wouldn't be James Wing Enterprises, it would be, I Buy Properties LLC, that would be called a disposable LLC. Then you write it in there, you leave the and or assigns off, you don't put any assignment clause in the additional provisions. And then once it's under contract, you go out and you market it during the inspection period. And in most markets, it's anywhere from 7 to 10 days, which is plenty of time to market a property, because if you can't sell a property to an end buyer in 7 to 10 days, then you got your numbers wrong. So 7 to 10 days is plenty of time to get that property out there to your list of buyers. Well, if you got this property into contract, who are you going to sell it to? Well, you're going to sell it to the guys that just did the fix and flips down the street. So when you're looking at the these investor comps here in the blue, we've got two properties. That one that was over here in Larchwood was also a flip. So you might even keep that one in there because somebody who's buying in Larchwood would likely buy across the way. So let's go ahead and reset that zone. And if we look at somebody who just, say did this flip right here, we open up Philwood Drive by clicking the little information icon. And then we can come down here to the public record data. And depending upon how recent the flip was, the owner right here may be that extra fix and flipper. If it just closed like today or the last couple of days, the fix and flip company might be in the owner info. If you look at it and it's people's names and it says owner occupied, then that's the buyer of the flip. So the public record has been updated by the county. So in that case, what you do is you scroll down to the transaction history, and you can see the seller was Soaring Enterprises LLC. So this is the buyer, right? So each one of those investor comps that has the before and after data will have this seller information. So this is how you build your buyers list, is by finding your target area after you've done the reverse REI strategy. Build your buyers list with active buyers by putting them in your database, and then finding out their contact info. Now, public record data does not have public information. I'm sorry, public record data does not have contact information. It doesn't have emails or phone numbers. So you'd have to skip trace that or just Google them, right? So sometimes LLCs are easy to find. So if I just do Soaring Enterprises Inc. in Nashville, I'll just say Tennessee, then we're going to come up with a handful of websites here. So let's see, Soaring Enterprises. Here we go, David J. Weiner. Here's the guy's LinkedIn. He's the president of Soaring Enterprises. Here's almost all the time you'll get a business database. And so here's Soaring Enterprises Inc. You have a mailing address for them, so you could send them a piece of mail. You also typically get an agent or a director. So Colby Rasmus is the registered agent for Soaring Enterprises. So all you would do is just, you could use True People Search, and then just put the information here, Colby Erasmus, and this was Nashville. This darn thing. And then do a search and see if you can find anybody. So here's Colby Erasmus, lives in Franklin, Tennessee. Click view details. Here's his phone number, so you can call him. And here's some previous addresses, possible relatives. You can get a background check right here. It didn't find any emails, but a lot of times you'll find emails too with this free True People Search skip tracing tool. So this looks like it worked, because when you look at this property in Lakeland, you're looking at Corey Erasmus. Let's see here. Philwood, did that close? Let's see here. I think he's an absentee owner. Well, he fixed and flipped it. So that's probably the guy. So I would just call him, and now you got somebody who you can sell this property that we just found that's at 62% of the ARV right to this guy. And every one of these properties here is going to have that same sold information that you can reach out to them, build your buyers list, and you can sell this house to them if you can get it under contract. You could throw $10,000 on this thing and still be under 50% of the ARV. I'm sorry, 60% of the ARV.
Okay, and how do you find the ARV of the market? You just look at what's sold previously?
You look up fix and flip properties that have sold.
Okay, got it. And then how would you run a comp, an accurate comp within the system?
These are the comps.
Okay.
So the system automatically pulls comps for you.
Okay, what about like repairs, due diligence? I mean, is that necessary or is that included?
No, well, that's a different process than comping. Comping is just determining what the value of the home is based off of the property characteristics in the comps. So these are all the comps. So our system is pulling comps on every single property in the US.
Okay.
So the ARV of your house is what a similar house that was fix and flip right down the street just sold for.
Okay, got it.
That's the whole reason of doing the reverse REI strategy, so that you have fix and flip comps.
Okay, so
if you didn't do the reverse REI strategy, you might have comps in the area that weren't renovated. So now the value of your house that's fixed and flipped is going to be based off of homes that weren't renovated.
Okay, got it. So there's okay, got it. Thank you.
Now, as far as is determining, how much work it needs, you'll have to use a rule of thumb, like $30 a square foot or something like that. Because this house doesn't need a ton of work, but you would just multiply 1575 times, I don't know, $30. Let me go back, times $30 a square foot, 47,000. You might add another 10 grand on there for a contingency. So you're looking at, $57,000 renovation on that house. So you could put that in there. You could just tell them too, like, based off of a $30 square foot construction budget, this estimated construction is around $55,000. You can get it for, I'll sell it to you for $260,000. So, there's a bunch of different formulas you can use too, but I know fix and flippers in this area that are going up to close to 80% in Nashville. But even if you use that, so let's use the ARV. Let's say the ARV is 380, right? Here's 386, 380, 385. 359. Well, of the fix and flip ones, they're all over 380. So let's just 380. So if you did 380, and in this area, 75% of ARV is what you would use, not 70%. Times 0.75 is 285,000 minus that $55,000 construction. That puts you at 230. So if you use that exact formula, you'd have to get this thing for 230,000 for it to be a potential deal. Now, I know those formulas will cause you to pass up on deals, but this one at 2 would be a deal. If you use that specific formula, it would be about $230,000 for that one to work at that specific number.
Okay,
But,
and then yeah,
go ahead.
I was going to ask real quick. The $30 per square foot, does that differ by the market, or is that just something that you
It
go
does.
by?
It differs by
Okay.
market. It also differs by what level of construction. So like a high-end fix and flip, where you have to put in custom cabinets and high-end appliances and whatever, you might be at $80 a square foot.
Okay, and how would I find this out? Just is there like a basic are there some basic formulas I could use?
No, you got to talk to the people in your market.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I would just talk to like a real estate agent or a contractor, and you can come up with kind of your own measurement. I was at a training last night, and I'm in Denver, and he said the average property in Denver is at $35 a square foot. That's what he does for when he runs his numbers, and he's a fix and flipper here in Colorado.
Okay.
So it depends on your market. But in general, a low end fix and flip is right around, I know a guy in LA who uses $25 a square foot. Middle of the road is about $40 a square foot, and then the high end is like $60 to $70 a square foot for construction costs.
Okay.
So that's one thing. So this is just an example, but I mean, there are hot areas all over. Which area are you targeting, James, again?
Well, I was going to go off the list you provided during the initial webinar, like Tampa Bay, St. Louis, all those, Chicago, those markets that but Denver would be an option too.
You wouldn't want to come to Denver.
Okay, not to wholesale. I see a lot of wholesalers in Denver, but
and most of them aren't making it. And you can tell that by the investor activity, right? So when you look at the map and you do the reverse REI strategy, Denver has probably half as many deals happening as those other markets that I told you about.
Okay.
So if you're just choosing a remote market, you're going to look at, Indianapolis, St. Louis, Tampa Bay, Chicago, Philadelphia. Those are some like the best areas to find deals that are being done. That's where the majority of the investor activity is. So you might be able to find a deal in, I don't know, Sioux Falls, but it's gonna be really hard for you to sell it because there's no buyers there. There's barely anybody doing fix and flips. You won't be able to prove ARV, so it's not even worth your time looking there, right? And that's an extreme. So just opportunity cost, spend your time in the areas where you have the best chance of finding a deal where you can make the numbers work, and then also know exactly who the buyers are on the disposition side of the business. That's why I choose those other areas. So if you go to an area like St. Louis, using the same algorithm, here's a few properties that could be potential deals. So this one is, 229,000 is the purchase price. If we come down to the comparables, you can get it for 229. And we've got comps. The closest sold fix and flip just went for 425. So that puts it at 54% of the ARV on that one. So that's just an example. So this is kind of a hot pocket, but you can also get off-market deals here. So let's say we isolate this little hot pocket. And then you create a filter for off-market leads. You uncheck active, click sold. The deal, this investor activity thing will not work for off-market properties because you don't know what the sales price is, right? So you won't know, you can't determine what the margin is because you don't know what they want to sell it for. So this is irrelevant. And then you just choose what you're looking for. So let's say we want zombie properties, which are vacant properties that have an absentee owner. And then you wouldn't want really recent things that sold. You would want stuff that was sold in the past. So create your date range. So let's say I just pick today and I go back 4 years to 2017. And then I'm going to sort by sold date, something that's relevant for sold properties. So now the system's going in and it's finding these properties that are in this zone where we know there's high investor activity for off-market leads. So you'll be able to find properties here that could be good targets for you. And because you're in an area where you have investor activity, you're able to find properties that could be good deals. So some of these prices are crazy because some of these go back really far, but look at some of the prices on this stuff that people bought. It's crazy. And this is what they bought it for at that time, right? So this one they purchased for 121, 110,000, 22 grand. I mean, some of these prices are just ridiculous. Let's say you find one and you're like, okay, well, here's the tags, right? So this one is owned by an absentee owner. They own it free and clear. It's a non-person owner. So it's like, it's, an LLC or a corporation. It's a zombie property. So you got to do is just open that property up, go down to the public records section. And this tells you who the owners are. This is Tira and Matthew Gallagher. And it's a trust. So you could take this information here and try to find Tira and Matthew Gallagher and then try to reach out to them and, talk them up. Ask them what's going on with the property. Is it currently rented out? Have you ever thought about selling? How was it through COVID? Did you guys get hit pretty hard? I'm an investor in the area and, I'm looking for some properties. If you're interested in selling, we can buy cash, fast close, whatever your spiel is. But now we're looking at this map here of all these off-market leads. And, off-market, you can find deals too. It's just, a little bit more difficult to, submit an offer because you spend the majority of your time, trying to track people down. But every one of these is an opportunity.
Okay, thank you.
Does that help?
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
What else? Who else has questions? It looks like James just joined. Welcome, James. Feel free to unmute yourself, ask any questions.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, hey, Jarrell, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How's it going today?
Very good, thank you. What can I do for you?
Okay, so I'm on here. I just recently purchased a house in my hometown for cash. So you said to compare the comps by looking at the recent fix and flips in your area, or to see how much the ARV is by looking at the recent fix and flips in your area, correct?
Yeah. If you're in an area where there is fix and flip activity, it's easier for you to prove ARV on that house if you're in an area that has lots of fix and flips.
Okay.
If you're in an area where there's not a lot of fix and flips, then you'll have sales comps, but you can't determine ARV from just regular sales. You have to have fix and flip comps to prove ARV, right, after repair value.
Okay.
So where is that property located?
It's located in Augusta, Georgia.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, let's look it up. Do you have the address?
The address. Oh man, hold on. Off the top of my head, I could never get that. Give me 1 second. I'll give you the address.
Okay, welcome, Stefan.
Is it?
For anybody here who wants to chime in right now, we're going to look at Jarrell's property in Augusta that he just bought. But feel free to put your questions in the chat, or you can unmute yourself.
1329 Roosevelt Drive. That should be the address.
Roosevelt
Drive. I'm sorry, 2139. I apologize.
2139.
Yes. Roosevelt Drive 30904.
All right, there it is. So when you're typing it in, make sure you select it off of the drop down, because then it'll match it up with Google's database.
Yeah.
So it looks like here's the house. The
Yeah.
last sale was back in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And then looks like your house is pretty unique for the area because there's no comps here, right?
Correct.
So the algorithm is looking at the property characteristics to pull comps. So it's looking for houses that are within 728 square feet, 15% plus or minus, and 1 story. And it's a single family detached. If you don't see any comps, then that means there's not a lot of 728 square feet houses that are 1 story in the area.
Okay.
So the first thing you want to do is click the all activity checkbox. That'll show you all the other houses in the area that aren't necessarily comps, right? A comp is a very specific thing. It means comparable, right? So that 15% tolerance we use on the square feet is kind of an industry standard.
Mm-hmm.
Some people go up to 20%. Some people will even go larger depending upon, you know, their system and what they're trying to do. But when you look at the comps here, if I sort by distance, you can see here that there's a lot of houses that are larger, right? So yours isn't matching up, right? So if you did 728, and just to give you an idea of where the cutoff is, times 1.15, that's 15% higher. 837 is where it cuts off, which is why we didn't show you any of these other houses, right? They're all just way too big.
Okay.
So, I mean, this one's crazy. Like this one said sold for 740,000.
Yeah, I think that's probably more than 1 house. It has to be.
It can't, yeah, it could be. What a lot of these agents do is let's see if there's anything here that jumps out. They'll put a bunch of properties in a bundle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here's 2 right here. This one and this one, they sold together.
Yeah.
They have it in a bundle, and then because they don't know what one property sold for, they put it in there as at the total price. So so it looks like there's 2 in that bundle. The close one, this one went for 135. But then what you're going to want to do is look at the price per square foot. So if yours is, you know, 728 square feet, you don't have a true comp.
Yeah. Okay.
So what you're going to do is you're going to look at the price per square foot on a handful of homes that are in the area. So like this one is, you know, $106 a square foot. This one's 103. 124 a little further away. This one was 41. Right. So if you're looking at ARVs, you're probably, you might want to use $100 a square foot just to give you a sense of what the value is.
Okay.
So you're going like, you know, $72,000 is basically what you're coming to.
Okay.
Based off of these other houses here. But, you know, I don't see a lot of investor activity in the area with the before and after, which is the, you know, the main indicator. It doesn't mean that some of these haven't had some work done to them. like this one right here that went for 106. You know, sometimes you look at it and you'll be like, oh, that's had some work done to it, but you know, sometimes you can't tell. This one was a public record sale, so that wasn't even on the MLS.
Yeah.
Um,
Same with this property I just bought. I actually just bought it. It was never like on the MLS, and I knew a family member who was selling the house.
yeah, there's a lot of public record data sales in this area.
Yeah.
Public record. Yeah, so I mean, probably in its current condition, right? Or maybe a little fixed up, you might be in the $70,000 range.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So that's how you go through that process.
Awesome.
Does that help out?
Oh, yeah, they helped out a lot. Actually, yes.
Good. So yeah, so just to kind of recap, when you put a property in, if you don't see comps, first thing you're always going to do is click the all activity checkbox. And then the next thing you're going to want to do is, if you're in a rural area, make the comp zone larger. So if this was, say, the closest house was a half a mile away, well, you know, it might be way over here on the edge. So you might have to, you know, click the drawing tool and create a much larger zone to be able to get good comp data, because in some of those rural areas, the houses are, you know, they're all spread out. Let's see how we're able to kind of get this spread out now.
Okay.
Cool. Any other questions, Terrell?
No, that's it for now.
Okay, feel free to jump back in. Who else has some questions?
Hey Benson, real quick.
Yeah, James.
If you're in Denver, were you at the John Fisher breakfast?
I wasn't, not recently. I haven't been since before COVID.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. I used to go every month, but I haven't been there. Just curious if you go. But those are where I meet the wholesalers. You know, some of the stuff. Yeah.
There's one coming up here the next couple of weeks, right?
It's every month. I'm not sure, but I'm out of state. That's the thing. I was just curious. Yeah, that's, you know, small world.
Yeah, it's a great place. I love John Fisher Breakfast Club, and Tim. I like Tim too, and there's some good people over there.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see, who else?
Hey, Benson.
Yeah, James, what's going on, sir?
Great. How you doing? How y'all? How's everybody doing?
Right.
Got a question for you. So when I go into my email and go through all the property, look at them, evaluate them, etc., and then what I would do next is go directly to the website that I have listed, you know, in my save. But what happened is that usually a search that I made before would pop up instead of the heat map. Instead of the heat map, the a property that I searched before will pop up. Okay, and then when that happens, I go back and sign out, sign back in, and sometimes it'll pop back up again. So I sent you an email about that.
Yeah, it will probably, there's a couple different ways you can do that, right? So you can go to the filter, and there's a reset button right here.
Oh,
That'll clear the filters here, and it'll just take you back to the standard search. It was just new listings. And then when you're enter here, then I would just go back to the privy coverage map right here. So that's one of the options on the left. And that takes you to this map right here, which is the coverage map. And that'll start you from scratch.
oh yeah. Okay.
And then you can run a new filter from there. So all this is all cleared out.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
Yeah, so reset, and then logging in and out, you know, doing those three things will clear out any sort of filters that have been left over, or, you know, sometimes like the browser will remember your last search, right, because of the cookies. So that should clear that out for you.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Stefan, did you have any questions? I appreciate you jumping in. You finally found that link. That's awesome. Divine, anybody have any questions?
I got one other question, please.
Sure.
When I do my drive-by, my not drive-by, I mean drive for dollars.
I understood what
Drive-by.
you meant.
With drive for dollars. So
Yep.
what happened is that I come here, punch in the address, and I can't get too much information on the property.
Well, it could be that you have a unique property. So I'm not sure if you saw what we just went through for Jarrell. You know, if you type in the address and there's, you know, only a couple comps or there's no comps, then that means that that house is unique for the area, because we have tolerances when we're looking for comparables. Again, comparables are very, you know, specific thing. It means the house has to be similar, or that the comps have to be similar to the subject. And if you're a ranch style 800 square foot home in a sea of 1,500 square foot, you know, 2 stories, you won't have any comps. So the first thing you want to do when you enter that, if you don't have enough data, is to click that all activity checkbox. And then after that, if that's, you know, getting you more data, but you want to even have more, then you can use the drawing tool to make the comp zone larger, and that'll start to, you know, broaden it out for you. But that's the nature of the business. You know, even agents who are, you know, comping properties out, or appraisers, is you start off with the perfect scenario, which is hopefully being in an area where you got a lot of similar property sales going on, and then loosening your criteria for what a comp is based off of the available data. And we already go back 8 months on our sales. So, you know, a lot of appraisers these days are trying to stay within 3 to 6 months, but we go back 8 months to give you even data that goes further back, just to help you out there with making sure you got enough data to get a sense of value. But also remember too on that, James, is, you know, if you're in an area like we were just looking at for Jarrell, you might be an area where no one's doing fix and flips. So, you know, be conscious of, you know, where you're looking for deals. Like, look for deals where you know the comps are at already, and it'll help you solve that problem where, you know, you're not pulling comps on properties and then realizing, oh my God, no one's done a deal here. So all of a sudden your ARV is not really AR after repair value, it's just V, which is value. And, you know, that's the whole point of doing the reverse REI strategy.
Can I give you your address?
Sure.
Okay, so the address is going to be, I hope this is a good one, 7611 Greenleaf Road.
Is it one word or 2 words?
One word.
Landover?
Yes, sir.
Greenleaf Road. Okay.
Okay.
They're saying it's Hyattsville, but looks like it's the same one, potentially.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same. Okay, now on some of them, if we go down to the public records and all like that, because see, this area right here is a good area for investors, but sometimes all the information that you know, the public records, the mortgage history. So see, this right here is a good area right here. You got everything on this one, but some of them don't have this information. Some of them don't have the public records. Some of them don't have the property history. It doesn't have anything like that.
Yeah, it just depends on, we're pulling up what the county is putting out there.
Okay.
So I almost always see the owner information, but they don't always put out mortgage. Like, this doesn't have a mortgage information on it. It could be because they own a cash. This is a cash deal, right? So pay attention to this stuff here. Like, there's no mortgage on this house. They own it free and clear.
Oh, okay.
That's what that dollar means. It means there's no mortgage data associated with it. And then the transaction history, the last sale was 1959. So this is, you know, likely the original owner who's just been in this house since they bought it.
Mhm. Like I said, it's a good area and everything. You see, got plenty of comps in the area and everything.
Oh yeah, this is a
Um,
good one for comps. I mean,
Yeah.
what this shows is like, this is one of those subdivisions, you know, like they build those subdivisions, it's like the same builder and they're just plopping down these houses all around. Like, look at all these, they're all exactly 858 square feet, or at least the majority are. So it makes it easy to comp out when you're
Mhm.
looking at other houses over almost exactly the same, right?
Yeah.
All of these. And then what you want to do is you want to sort by distance. So I bet you there's stuff that's sold on the same road. Oh,
Mhm.
no. Well, here, Greenleaf right here, it's a little further away. But this one on Oxman is right around the corner. Went for 270K.
Wow.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a good area, good area. Okay, so let me ask another question. So if I wanted to start tracking that area right there, what I would do would be to circle that area right there and then save it. And then when deals come up in that particular area, I would get it.
Yeah, yes. You want to be able to find
Okay.
this right here is the map for this specific property, right? So you want to be able to find this. So all you're going to do is you want to be able to zero in on it using our search. So let's just do 20785. Okay.
Okay.
So if we come up here, actually, let's try to do Hyattsville. Hyattsville, run search. Okay, so it got us into that area, right? So this is that little niche I think we were in before, right? Right here.
Mm-hmm.
Me.
So now that we're in here, you could circle it, or you can just use this Hyattsville search itself. Like, is it, I mean, actually, we don't even have to draw it on the map if you don't want. If you wanted to go outside this zone though, there's two things you could do. You could go to the filter and click this checkbox that says include surrounding areas, and then it will
Okay.
include
Okay.
properties outside that.
Yeah.
Um,
Because
but
that's
then,
not the area right there. The area you just pulled up, that's not a good area right there. So that's an entirely different area. When you say Hyattsville, when you pull up by Hyattsville, Queen Chapel Manor, and all those places there, Jefferson Street, Hyattsville, though that community there, you see 525 and et cetera. So that community there does not equate with the Greenleaf Road community. So will you put instead of, so this is why I'm asking, once I pull up that Greenleaf Road, if I encircled just that area there and not use the 20785 or either the Hyattsville, but if I just circled the area that you saw just a while ago for Greenleaf Road and then
yeah, you can
save
just
that
circle it.
search there.
So this is just a way to kind of zero in on that area. I don't know where Greenleaf Road is on the map here, but just find it, and then you can use the drawing tool to isolate it. I don't know. Can you see it on the map here? Where would it be?
Okay, no, it wouldn't. Okay, see Landover over there? See Landover over to your right? All the way down to the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the area, see, that's the area that that property I just gave you located in over there.
Yeah.
Really?
Crazy.
Okay. So you would just, if this is it, you just circle it. So you could use the drawing tool, and then you circle it. And then once it's isolated like that, then you go ahead here and you just click filter, click save, and then you can organize it. You put it into a folder, and then choose the email frequency.
Right.
Say every day or every hour. And then you just click save, and then that will trigger the email alerts to show up at your inbox.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
And then, I mean, that's this zone, right? So if you wanted to give off-market deals, and you just switch it over to off-market. You just uncheck active, click sold, and then choose what it is you're looking for. And that's how you would zero in on that.
Okay, gotcha. Good. Okay. Mhm.
Awesome. Let's see, who else has a question?
Benson, just real quick, if no one else has a question, is Maryland good for wholesaling?
Yeah, it can be. I mean, it's as far as investor activity, let me come in and we clear this. And I would zoom out here. And then switch over to investor activity. And then that'll show you where the hot pockets are. So not all of Maryland is good. You wouldn't want to be in the middle sections here in like Anne Arundel County and some of those areas. But when you get down into like Prince George's County or into Baltimore County, yeah, there's definitely some areas there that can be pretty hot. So you just want to be, again, where the comps are at. So if I was going to choose an area, it'd be probably in the Beltway here, in Baltimore County, Baltimore area is where I would look.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Benson, let me piggyback on that. But what I was saying just a while ago, okay, so where you are now, yeah, you just did what I was talking about. I was gonna say, could you encircle all those souls right? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, Baltimore, crazy.
Yeah, so you can circle that, and then you could obviously do your research to get a sense of like what a deal looks like to somebody who's doing deals there. So this one just closed a couple days ago, and you go to the before and after, and they got that is for 85 grand, sold it for 240. I mean, really good deal, right? 240,000, 35%, and this was an on-market deal. 35%. So these deals, you guys, they're there. James, how'd you miss out on this one, man? What happened?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
But yeah, right. So like 85, and we don't know what they spent on it, right? There's no database that contains that, but let's just say this was, a major flip, right? The square footage is 1254. And let's say it was $50 a square foot. That's $62,000. And then, they sold it for 240,000 times 6%. So they had 14,000. So let's just say that's $80,000 in costs with title fees and everything. So if they got it for 85,000 and they had $80,000 in costs, they're at 165. Sold it for 240,000. They're right around $75,000 net, plus or minus 5 or 10 grand.
Wow.
Not a bad deal. And this could have been a wholesale deal too, right? You could have locked this up for 85 grand, put, $5,000 assignment fee on it, and, someone would have bought that from you. And the company that you could sell it to right now, if you're looking for more deals, this is this Bruin 2018 LLC. That's a buyer that's doing deals right in this area today.
But Benson, let me ask your personal opinion about this question here. Your personal opinion would be best to get assignment contract versus adding your wholesale fee to the purchase price. Which one will you prefer?
I don't know that those are, different. I think they're just different parts of the process, right? So you would put your assignment fee on top of what you could get it under contract for. And then you would assign that contract to another person and they would give you the fee. So, I mean, unless you're talking about doing a double close, which if you were going to close on it for the price you got it under contract, and then you add on top of it your fee, and then you would basically resell that thing on a secondary transaction. But you know, you're in Baltimore, right? So you don't have to do double closes unless there's no other option. It's just more logistics and there's extra expense on a double close. So I would just get it under contract, put your assignment fee, you know, within the negotiation with the end buyer, and just tell them how much you want for you to assign the contract to them.
Okay.
Was that the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Because last one I did, that's what I did. The last one I did, we negotiated. I was going to pay. They want to pay me X dollars, getting property under contract for a certain price. Then they said, okay, we'll give you $15,000 as your assignment fee. Then another gentleman I talked to, he said, okay, look, the way we do it is you add that 15,000 into the price that you're going to sell it to us for. So this is why I come ask your preference.
Yeah, it sounds like that second option there is actually a double close. But I would try to go for the, you know, the original one where you're just assigning it.
Yeah. Okay.
And then they can just pay you the fee at closing. You know, it's just a cheaper way of doing it. So now I just flipped the switch on this one, and let's see if there's anything around there that looks interesting. I mean, check out this one. It's right in the same area as that house we just looked at. It's 90 grand. Absentee owner. They own it free and clear. And the closest sold property went for 130. I set the filter for 70%. If you can use this comp down here, that's all the way up to 170. So here's the subject. Here's the comp. You know, it's only 0.32 miles away. But if that's the comp, I mean, you're on 53%, right? That's what this column is for. It's taking 190,000, it's dividing 170 into it, and that's what this number is.
So let me ask you a question about that, because, okay, so in Baltimore particularly, that 170 down there, will that be too far away from the subject property? I have a big problem with that.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a local question. I mean, in some areas, you know, some of these areas with these names are like, they're all synonymous and it doesn't matter how far you go. But in some areas, like, you can't go 2 blocks over. But those are kind of like local market conditions. You know, our system doesn't know that.
Okay.
A half a mile to a mile is customary for comps. So it just depends on your area.
Okay.
But it could be perfectly fine. It may not be.
Okay.
It's a good question though. But again, that's an example. And then you could sell this if you get under contract for 90, you could give it to that bullion company who, you know, close that house right down the street. And now you got yourself another potential deal. Here's a single family detached you can get for 115 grand. You know, it's dated, it needs a bunch of work. All right, this is like a perfect single family for 115. And the closest sold comp on this one went for 220, 269. That house is, I mean, it was sold for 359, but it's, you know, it's within a reasonable distance, but that's quite a jump from 269 to 359. But if you're conservative, man, that house is,
That's crazy.
So even if you're in this range right here, you're right around 50%. So this is a house, James, I would check out today. So again, we have a sharing feature, right? So if you just come here to share on the CMA, you can email it right out from your system, or you can copy and put it in your Gmail or your Outlook or whatever. But I'm going to put it in the chat for you.
I wrote it down already. I'm checking that out.
Oh, there's the link, right? So you can click it, that'll pop it right up on in your browser, and then you can go into it. But I mean, this one, I mean, it looks like it's fairly solid, right? As far as, the major, things like that. You might have to replace that roof, but it looks, like a good solid brick Rambler you can make some money on. But actually in the back, oh, okay. So all of these things, they turn this into a whole second floor. So it's really a 2-story. Yep. That one's a good one. Awesome, guys. Well, we're up against the hour here. So any final questions before we close out for the day?
I have one final question. This is Jarrell again. So say when you're looking to, I guess, renovate a property, what did you said by the square footage, like how much each square foot costs? You can get your price that way.
Mhm.
When you're doing renovations, I guess, to know. So like say, like the property has like 785 square feet and you did like times 100.
Yeah, I did 100. That was more for value than it was for construction costs. So if your house doesn't have true comps,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to have to use other properties in the area that's sold that aren't true comparables. So you have to make an adjustment based off of the size of the home.
Okay.
So you're going to look at the price per square foot of a house that is too big, and then you use that price per square foot and you multiply it by your square feet to
Okay.
get an estimation of value.
Okay.
And that, again, that's the sales value. That you can use that same approach to try to determine construction costs by using the tiered things that I was talking to James about earlier, which is like a pure like cosmetic flip. It's just like basic cosmetics. Would be about $25 to $30 a square foot.
Okay, so
on
that's
the
like
construction.
Yeah, so when I'm talking to a contractor, I should go by like 25, between 25 and $40 per square
25
foot.
to 30 on a
30.
cosmetic, and then there's tiers. And then the
Okay.
second tier, and again, this is localized, right? So it might be different for your market, but if you ask around, you'll be able to, eventually nail it. About $40 a square foot for like a middle of the road.
Okay.
And then you might go up to like 60 or 70 for like a total gut, where you got a house that, is fallen over, or it's got a tree growing through the middle of it.
Okay. I was asking because I just, like I said, I got the property for like dollars on a penny. And I'm actually working on renovating. I want to rent it out, but I want to refinance it as well because I bought it cash.
Cool.
So
That's the one in Augusta?
yeah, I bought it cash. Yeah. From a friend. Like, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, you want to keep that one, man.
Yeah. They had sold to me for 15,000. So that's why. Yeah.
Well, didn't we see comps that were in the 170 range?
Well, but they were further out and they're larger properties. So like, remember at the same time, it's like only 800 square feet pretty much. So it's not a big house.
Right, but that's why I was using the $100 a square foot, right? That's the sales that were in your area was $100 a square foot.
Yes, sir.
So times, it was like 780. That was like or was it 720? 72,000 was what it was. So,
Yeah.
you're in that $70,000 to $80,000 value. Okay, so no, it wasn't 170. That's where I was gotten wrong. So yeah, you're going to be in that range of 70 to 80. Maybe you could get a little bit higher on an ARV, but if you're going to rent it, you don't need to do a full reno. You just do a rental grade.
Yeah, that's what that's what I'm trying to get it to. But yeah, I appreciate it. I'll probably join another call on, I think you say you do them on Mondays and Thursdays, correct?
Yep. Next one is Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. And for
Okay.
those of you on the West Coast, those are at 4 p.m. So yeah, if anything comes up, you guys, that you need help with, send me an email. You know, I appreciate all of you, and you know, hopefully, you know, I'm here to help in case, you know, something pops up. So yeah, just let me know how I can help.